What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Father podcast. I am your host, Coach Spencer. Today, we are coming back to you with a takeover for this month all around Movember and specifically your mindset and mental health. Now, I want to start out by saying I am not a mental health professional. And all the information, commentary today and in future episodes about mental health I am providing comes from a place of past experiences, research, statistics, things like that. Nothing in this or coming episodes should be considered as psychiatric advice and or treatment. Now, that said, let's get into it. Happy Movember. All right, that's it, man. So today we are going to simply talk about the elephant in the room, men's mental health. Now, I get it. We're not supposed to talk about it. Sue me. So the reality is, though, that this is a stigma around mental health, especially in men, that is a massive problem in both the US and globally, right? We've taught, we've been taught rather from such a young age that we have to grow up to be big, strong men. We're not allowed to talk about our feelings and we have to end up becoming the man of the house, right? But that's all well and good. And I agree, we should be, strong, healthy men. But the idea that strong, healthy men means that we can't talk about our feelings is fucking stupid. And unfortunately, this is why there's not, you know, rather that this is unfortunately why so many men aren't here with us today to be able to hear this message is because we don't talk about our feelings. And it's just plain out stupid. Now, this isn't to diminish suicide. This is not anything like that. Like, I have never had that issue. I thankfully don't know that I've had major events in my life that have been impacted by it. So I'm never going to talk like I know what I'm talking about in those situations. But the fact that we can't even talk about it and like how that comes to a place where that is the solution, that's the problem that I find is not being able to, be a guy that goes to the gym, works out, eats right, does all of those things, and then isn't allowed to talk about his feelings and ends up taking his life. It's impossible for me to fathom how we get to that point. So there are so many things that we do now to look after our health fitness. Like I just said, things like a lot of my clients are doing and I do myself. You eat right, you hit your nutrition goals, you hit your protein goals, you go to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week, you make sure that you drink enough water, you're getting enough steps in during the day, all of the things to be healthy. But no one really talks about the most important part of your health, and that's your mindset, your mentality, your brain. Like your brain literally is the functioning device that without a brain, you are not a human. You cannot operate if you don't have a brain. So why do we keep beating our brains to absolute pulp and then not worry about it? Like it's just, I don't get it. Um, Now, as men, we're not always the most comfortable or confident when we need to reach out to somebody for help. Especially when it circles around life's challenges. We think that, you know, we're just going to burden somebody else with our problems and, they're not going to want to hear it or they're going to brush me off. And I've been in those situations where I've brought things up with people that I, know, like, trust, love, and have been kind of brushed off. Oh, that's stupid. You can't fucking feel that way. That's bullshit. It's simply not true. And it's why we, again, further don't talk about our issues, right? We don't talk about our mindset because you get that person that is supposed to love you unconditionally and be there for you, and then tells you that the thoughts that you're having and the feelings that you're feeling aren't real or are bullshit. And if I've learned anything in my years of working on my mentality is no one can tell you how you feel. Your feelings are yours and you can feel them however you need to and however you choose to. No one can tell you that you feel a different way because it's your feeling. It's how you feel, literally. Like it's plain and simple. You can't be told that you feel a different way. Now, the pandemic as shitty as it was, taught us a lot, right? Talking about our mental health and our struggles is literally critical to our survival. Like, the suicide rates during the pandemic skyrocketed. Both men, women, white, black, pick, I don't care, pick a color. Probably every person of every race, every gender, everywhere saw issues because we were not talking about our mental health. We are naturally not, introvert or extrovert. We are not people that thrive by being individuals, independent, not speaking. We thrive from communities, right? And that's why, as part of Gala Fitness, like, we have this massive community. I joined Team Lifts, one, because we're taking over the fucking world, but two, because I took my guys, however many there are, and said, hey, I'm going to put you into a program, into a team that the community is literally 1,000 times bigger than I could probably ever make it alone. We have a community of almost 1,500 people that all have the same goals in mind, that are moving forward towards those goals and want to work on them together. That's something that you can't find anywhere else. We are a community based society. That's who we are. We are designed to be community people. In the pandemic, when we all got locked down and had to sit in our houses and apartments and things like that, we lost a lot of that. And, how many times, I can't even count the amount of times that I got on Zoom happy hours, whether it was coworkers, whether it was family members, whether it was whatever the hell that stupid app was, House Party, I think it was, where you could just randomly get on and you would get notifications that your other friends were on there, like talking to their friends, and you could just randomly like butt into their parties, which was weird, but cool at the same time because you connect with people and you were talking, you'd have a drink or two and just kind of enjoy each other's virtual company. We're not designed to be, sitting in a room by ourselves, not talking to anybody forever. It's just not part of who we are. Um, but at the same token, it's really hard for somebody to be able to open up. Sometimes even if they want to open up, it can be tough to talk to somebody, right? I can attest. I fought tooth and nail to my absolute core to talk to anybody or somebody or anything before and during the pandemic about my own struggles. I was dealing with a lot of shit. I had massive anxiety. I had just moved from outside of Boston to literally downtown Philadelphia, June of 2019, before the pandemic hit, by myself, living in a brand new city, in a brand new apartment, literally in the heart of everything. I walked outside and there were 4 bars. Um, and I knew nobody. Like, the people that I knew were my coworkers, which, that's great. Coworkers are great people. I still have friends that are, some of my close friends are coworkers or former coworkers, but it's not quite the same as, when I lived in Massachusetts and I had all of my friends that I had known for a decade because I met them through college and stayed in touch, and we all lived in the same area and we'd all hang out on the weekends. Like, that didn't really happen for me. And then I was balancing a long-term relationship. Erin and I were now hundreds and hundreds of miles apart, not like 50. She was living up in New Hampshire and I was now living in Philadelphia. And figuring out how balance that was not easy. The fact that we sit here today married is arguably mind blowing. But it's because we were able to work through a lot of things, and it was definitely not easy. But we are here today. We are married. And on top of all of that, I was struggling with what can probably only be described as a massive, massive drinking problem for, at that point in time, had been the better part of about 2 years since my grandmother had passed away. Um, and it was just a lot of shit going on. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't really know how to talk to anybody. Um, it was just tough to navigate and be able to figure all that out. And every once in a while I would try to open up to somebody and I would get that brush off of, oh, whatever, here's another beer. Yeah, that's fine. Or, oh, you don't feel that way, or that's bullshit. You shouldn't feel that way. And sure. But it further put me kind of in this little like turtle shell where I was just like, well, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and wallow in self pity and pain and not really talk to anybody, and it fucking sucked. Um, but ultimately, it wasn't until I joined a mentorship program to really build Gala Fitness and try and actually make this something that I could do full time and help people both mindset and fitness side of things, like fitness as a whole, mindset and physical. Um, that I was able to finally find somebody who I felt like I could really like connect with and talk to. And that person was my life coach, Leslie, who I've talked about in pretty much every episode at this point, leading into this, I think. Um, and it took me a really long time to get onto Leslie's roster. And once I did, we spent a lot of time talking about things that I wasn't necessarily expecting to. I figured it would be okay, yeah, I have anxiety because I live with my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, dealing with a new city and probably still dealing with my grandparent, dealing with Graham's death. The basics, if you will. Like none of that shit's easy. Um, but I did not expect to kind of go to the level of depth that we ultimately did. And um, it's very rarely the surface level of things in my experience that I've learned is it's not that shit on the surface that's actually the problem, right? Like, was losing my grandmother tough? Fuck yeah. Is it still tough today? Yeah, it's easier today, but it's still tough. Um, but that's not really ever the problem. Like Graham dying wasn't the reason that I had all these issues. And it led me to this really deep work that really enlightened what kind of was triggering everything, how I got to where I was. And it was really shedding a lot of light on kind of the root causes, going all the way back to a very young age when I would, you know, do certain things or saw certain things or experienced certain things in my life that kind of formed who I was and how I saw the world and how I experienced the world and how my mindset around the world was shaped and formed. Um, you know, we're unfortunately, though, not programmed to do deep work. As men, if it is beyond the surface, we don't touch it because it's difficult and it's painful. And it can bring out a lot of your fucking demons. And that's really hard. It's like a little Pandora's box that if you put the right key in it and you open it up and you do that deep work, the things that come out are the things that you probably don't want coming out and you don't want to be a part of. And it's really tough to deal with that and understand that you kind of have to beat the shit out of some of those demons to really move forward and become the man that you're supposed to be. Um, what I can tell you today is 100% I would not be who I am today, talking to you right now on this podcast, had it not been for the work that I had put in over that time working with Leslie. And, even since then, the last couple of years, whether I was working with Leslie or not, that work it's who I am today. It's how I've gotten here, right? I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I had a lot of fears and surprisingly a lot of confidence that I was lacking in a lot of areas of my life that I just didn't quite process or understand correctly. I've talked a little bit about this on my social pages. And, a little bit a couple minutes ago was when I lost my grandmother back in 2017, I was completely fucked. There is no way else to explain it. I had no fucking idea how to grieve, how to process that loss. Um, I'd never really lost somebody that close to me in my past. My great grandmother passed away years and years before that. And, I'd met her a couple times, but I was never close with her. And my grandmother was literally my best friend. I would call her all the time. I would talk to her all the time. She was the one that I would call for advice. She was the one that I would call with successes, wins, losses, everything. Like I would talk to her about everything. The amount of times that I would safely say during the summers, I spent more time at her house than I spent at my own house. And it was definitely the place that I always wanted to be. What happened though was because I didn't know what the fuck to do and how to handle any of that, I ended up basically finding solace at the bottom of a bottle. I started eating like shit. Pretty much every destructive, toxic behavior that you could possibly have. That was how I handled it. And my mental and physical health went to absolute dog shit. But I now sit here today, still not perfect by any fucking stretch. But I'm both comfortable and confident in who I am, both as an individual, as a business owner, as an engineer, as a coach to some fucking all stars on my roster, and the path that I'm on with this podcast, with Gallo Fitness, with Team Lifts, with my life in general, where I am going, the vision that I have for who I will be in 10, 20, 50 years, I am comfortable and confident in who that is because of the work that I've done. And I was faced with a pretty big fork in the road, and I chose to take what potentially was the uh, bumpier is probably a very nice term for it, path to get here. But I would not have traded that, right? Like the experiences that we have gone through, whether you are a faithful person, whether you're a religious person or not. I personally am. I have a cross tattooed on my arm. I have a cardinal tattooed on my chest. I do believe somewhat in the philosophy of you are meant to be where you go, and you have this path that is planned for you. And being that I believe in that, I can tell you that there was a lot of nights that I would go to bed and be swearing, saying, how the fuck did I get here? How the fuck is this the path? Why the fuck isn't Graham here? And I never understood it until probably a month, probably about a year ago at this point. Yeah, 6 months. When I was on a call with some of my mentors, Brian Mark and Cole Da Silva, and Dan McDonald, the founder of Clean Health Institute. And they were talking about, mindset and a lot of things like that. And Dane was talking about his gratitudes. And Dane came up from, probably close to me, like a, middle class family, didn't see a lot of hardships in his life, but went through a lot of hardships with, alcohol and things like that. Versus Cole and Brian, my God, those guys have seen some shit that I can't even fathom. But I made a comment and I said, well, how do you, Dane, how do you do gratitudes? Because like, yeah, I have a house and like a dog and I feed my family, but like, that's like stupid shit to me. And Cole laid into me, rightfully so, because that was not something that I should have ever taken for granted. And I was, and a lot of that was the mindset shift that I started taking, was that, um, it's not about the house. It's the fact that I have the house, because there's a lot of people in this country, being in the US, that don't have a house. They don't even have an apartment. They don't even have shelter or food. And I sit here and I'm like, yeah, like that's all small, stupid shit. And it was just such a like eye-opening experience for me. And it made me really realize that the reason that I can't reason that it's why Graham died, because that would be insane. But not having her here has really driven me to change my mindset and to change my mentality around the fact that the things that I do are because of the gifts that I was given by her and my grandfather and my dad's parents, Nan and Pop, who all four are no longer here. But the life that I have lived was a gift. And my decision was to keep squandering that gift and taking it for granted and saying, well, it's, I'm here because I can be. And, I have a house because I can. And instead trying to change that around and say, I'm here and I have a house and I've worked my ass off and I have a lot of gifts and a lot of talent and a lot of abilities that I can help somebody with. And that is now what drives me more than anything to do Movember, to have this ridiculous mustache on my face right now, to raise money every single year for Movember, to be a fitness coach, to run Gallo Fitness, to be a member of Team Lifts, to be the best fitness coach on the goddamn planet that I can possibly be. because I have been given the ability to be here, and that is what I choose to do with that gift. So, tangent there off of the intent of this kind of podcast episode, but that's who I am and that's why I'm here, is because I've been given an amazing gift through some really hard shit to be here today, to give back to you, the listeners, to give back to my clients, to change people's lives through my experiences and my talents and my gifts. Now, getting back into things a little bit, you can't fix somebody else's problems for them. I'm a fitness coach. The amount of times that I talk to people and say, "Hey, how much weight do you want to lose?" This and that and the other, and we have the conversation, and they're like, "Well, I don't know. It should be nice to like lose the weight." It's like, okay, cool. So what is that going to do for you? And they can't really answer. And it's one of my favorite questions when I get on a call with anybody for a game plan and a consultation is, why is that your goal? 9 times out of 10, they go, "Oh, that's a good question." I'm like, I know. That's why I asked it. And a lot of times the answer comes out and it's a lot deeper than you think it is. And they want that help. And that's why they're on the call with me, is they want the game plan. They want to fix it. And the people that can't answer it or give kind of surface level, like, oh, it'd be nice to, lose 10 pounds. Like, okay, cool. But like, why? What do you find that having 10 pounds extra means? Um, and so that's where I kind of come in and just like understand it is, I can lead a horse to water all I want, but I can't make you drink the water, right? If you're building a wall, got 100 bricks, I can carry 50, you can carry 50. If I carry 55, you're not carrying your piece. Like, we're not going to get where we need to go. So that's where kind of I always look at it is, I can't fix somebody else's problems. I obviously look at it more from the physical perspective, but mental side as well is being there to support people and help them navigate it, especially on the mindset side, is when somebody is struggling to just be able to say, "Hey, listen, I'm here. If I can help you in any way, please let me know, but I can't fix it for you. If you're feeling depressed, I can't make you not depressed. But if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to have that conversation with you." So, when it comes to you or your friends, your family, those conversations likely don't now and will not continue to come easy. They're difficult conversations to have with people. But sometimes listening is really just the best thing that you can do. Um, and so to kind of start wrapping things up, that's why next week I'm going to be breaking down the ALEC formula, ALEC formula from Movember, that they have kind of built to help navigate those conversations and kind of help you guys both navigate them within yourselves as well as navigate them with, the men in your lives or yourselves. Um, Now, today, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. I will leave this with you. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not here to force you into my coaching program. And if you want to change, great, we can have that conversation. That's a totally different conversation for a different day. However, I can tell you right here and right now is I can and I will always be here if you need somebody to listen and talk to. My DMs are always open, and I can tell you from some of my past episodes and my past conversations, some of my current clients are on the same boat, that they will do the exact same, and their DMs are open as well. If you ever need anything from me or from somebody else, don't ever hesitate to ask. It's not worth not asking and then not being able to, or making a rash decision because you didn't ask. So I hope this episode has been helpful, albeit not a whole lot of information for you to be able to implement or do anything with. Kind of ranted a little bit and rambled on my own story here. I hope that you will come back next week and continue listening as we kind of break down some of these Mindset Mondays. We grow together and really build this month out so that not only are we entering December and 2024 as kind of stronger mentally or stronger physically, but also stronger mentally, really building up who we are and making sure that we are here to support each other and build this community to build and be the best that we possibly can. Now, this week and every week moving forward in Mindset Mondays, I'll be leaving a link in the show notes to a bunch of resources from Movember should you or anybody else ever need them. Again, I am not a licensed psychiatrist, psychotherapist, whatever people thing you want to call it. I'm not licensed for that. I'm more than happy to listen to you and have conversations with you. And if necessary, I will refer you to somebody in that situation. But there is a lot of free resources out there for you: suicide helplines, just overall mental health resources. There's areas in your region, I'm sure, that can help as well. So I will leave a link to that below from Movember. That said, I am going to sign off. Please don't ever suffer in silence. I hope this has been helpful for all of you. Peace, love, and protein, and I will talk to you guys next week.